Hello friends, my name is Steve and this is Steve Talks Books. Thanks for coming by, watching my weekly update. It's where I talk about what I've been reading, what I'm going to read, what I won't get to, and everything else in between. If you'd like to connect with me, the best place is on our forum at pagechewing.com. We have forums, we have a calendar that we schedule all the stuff on. You can RSVP for events to join us for anything you want to join. We also have blogs, we have some other stuff there, so you register there and join the discussion. It's a small but fun group we have there. So it's a nice little quiet community we have going on. I can also be found on Vero at that one MFer. Lots of people joining Vero lately. I think there's a few bigger photography booktubers or photographers that have YouTube channels that made some videos about why they're moving to Vero and away from Instagram. So we have a flood of new people. It's a great little platform. So if you decide to give it a go, please let me know so I can help you get started there. I can also be found on Twitter at Steve Talks Books. So let's start with what I've been reading last week. I did continue to read. I've been reading this book for a while. The Tower of Living and Dying by Anna Smith Spark. It's the second book in the Empires of Dust series. It's just, I'm enjoying it. There's been a couple of stretches that it's been a little tough to connect with the characters. There's a group of characters in the book that I just don't really care a whole lot about. So it's when we switch back and forth and we switch to this set of characters, I want to go back to the other set. I think we've all been in that position at some point where we care about one group and don't really care about the other. So, but it's really dense and really thick, and I'm trying to really take my time with it. And it's funny, we talked about this on the stream for The Darkness That Comes Before, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But we discussed that, and Katerina had read all the books before, and she took breaks between these books. And I think it's important to take breaks with this book, with this series, because it is very dense, it is very thick. And I've known about the meetup on September 10th for a while, but I haven't, I was taking my time with the series, and I was just, I thought, well, I'll wait on it. I'll start so it's fresh, so I can finish the trilogy and I'll be fresh for the meetup. And they've taken me a lot longer to read than I expected them to. And I think it's good to get a break between these ones. So after I finish The Tower of Living and Dying, I'm going to take a quick break and read Orchards by Catherine Silva. I've been wanting to read this for a little bit. I've been way behind on everything, and it's been a busy couple of weeks. So I do think Orchards will be a good break between the second and third book. And plus, I want to know what happens to these characters from The Wild Dark, because it's a continuation of one of the characters' storylines, and I'm anxious to find out what happens. I've just been way behind on my reading, and it's I've been kind of, I think all of us can relate to, just feel like we're just not getting a whole lot of reading done, even though we're spending a lot of time reading. We don't feel like we're getting a lot of progress in. So it's been that kind of couple of weeks for me. After I finish Orchards, I'll be reading The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker. We're having a meetup on that with Joseph Carroll, so stay tuned for that. I'm not sure what channel it'll be on yet, but I know it's coming up soon. And then I'll be getting into The House of Sacrifice, which is the last book in the Empires of Dust series. So on the channel this week, I did post part 2 of The Darkness That Comes Before, spoiler discussion with Katerina and Daniel. So take a look at that if you haven't already listened to it. It is available on the podcast too. Just posted on YouTube because I think some people prefer to watch on YouTube. So it's there. I will be uploading each part every Friday. So that'll be a continuous thing. So next part will be Friday. If you're reading along with us and you want to get ahead, you want to catch up to us, it is available on the podcast as well. So check that out if you don't want to wait till next Friday. We're recording part 5 next week. Next Friday we'll have part 5 up on the podcast, but the YouTube videos are a little bit behind. So if you want to continue, then check out the podcast. And this week I also did the BookTube kindness tag, and that was a lot of fun to give attention to people who are really kind and really generous with their time. And of course, I always forget someone, or I always think I'm forgetting somebody, and I always get really nervous that I'm not going to name someone. Of course, there's always going to be that, but it's a great way to spread positivity. I had a really good time. It's a nice way to say thanks. I also had the Court of Broken Knives. I had a longer review, and a short for that book. So those are available. I'm going to try and do one of each, unless it's a book that I don't really have a whole lot to talk about. Then I'll probably just do a short. There's some novellas and some short story collections that I'll just probably do a short, just because I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I mean, I don't want to make a long video and not say a whole lot, just kind of get to the point. And this week I did plan to meet with Alan Baxter for the Friday conversation. It's, it's kind of a funny story. So what happened was for those of you who care, on Thursday I got a message from Alan that was like, "I'm ready when you are." And I thought, oh shit, what's today? So I went and I said, it's Thursday. And I didn't realize that we had planned it for Friday. He lives across the world and it was Friday morning for him. And the time zone thing got me. So long story short, we rescheduled it for Thursday morning his time, Wednesday night my time. It'll be a page chewing episode instead. So it won't be a Friday conversation, but it's still going to be the same, the same format. And so I felt like a total dolt. I felt like a total idiot. I was so embarrassed. But thankfully, Alan was really understanding. He's like, it happens all the time. We can reschedule. So thankfully, he was really cool about it. Then I was like, well, I'm not sure what we're going to do for the Friday conversation. Maybe I'll just skip this week. Maybe I'll just cancel it. So we have a little page chewing chat between Taylor and PL and I. And I told them I'm not sure what we're going to do. And PL said, let me see if Jenny wants to join. I was like, well, cool. So he, this all takes place in a matter of about 10 minutes. He's like, well, let me ask AP. Maybe he'll want to join too. I was like, yeah, that's cool. Like, maybe we'll get lucky. So long story short, it all turned out okay. Jenny and AP both agreed to come. So the Friday conversation turned out really well this week. We had Jenny Wirtz, a critical dragon. We had Taylor, PL Stewart, and of course Beth Tabler. And we all came by. We talked about a bunch of different things. We talked about the new Lord of the Rings series. We talked about adaptations, about the new Game of Thrones series or the House of the Dragon, about some scenes in that one. We talked about women in writing, about underappreciated writers in the field. We talked about, just a ton of different stuff. The time just flies by, and it's funny because I could tell AP was getting tired, and it's really late for him. So I always try to wrap up. I try to respect his time and try to not keep him too long because I know he's really tired. It's like 2 or 3 in the morning for him. So we wrapped up. And afterwards on the stream after we're not live anymore, we always have a little chat, for a few minutes at least. And PL and I and AP sat there for another 2 hours. Another 2 hours talking about stuff. We were talking about the new Lord of the Rings, series. We talked about prose. We talked about, just a ton of different things. And every time AP talks, I learn something. Also this week, we had the Watchmen discussion with Marissa Bailey, Hey Y'all Listen Up, and Jose from Amazing Worlds. And this one was really interesting. We had some great discussions, and there's some things that I did not think about until we got to this discussion. So if you've read Watchmen and you want to hear more about it, it gave me a lot to think about. I didn't expect it to. I thought I knew a lot about the series because I've read it a bunch of times and I've watched the movie, and I've kind of felt like I knew it pretty well. And then a wrench gets thrown in there, and it just gives me a whole different perspective on the entire story. So I don't want to say too much. I don't want to ruin it for anyone. But if you're interested in Watchmen, go check that out. It's also available on the podcast if you'd rather listen. So check that out if you're interested. I always like to mention the upcoming group reads we have, just so we can, if you're interested, you can jump on with us if you want to chat with us. So we have the Hellbound Heart on September 4th. We have V for Vendetta on September 10th. We have Empires of Dust, the trilogy. It might be too late to jump on that one on September 10th because they're such long books. We do have Negative Space scheduled for September 14th. Abaddon's Gate, the third book in the Expanse series, on September 17th. Also, The Grace of Kings is scheduled for October 1st. So any of these are open to anyone who wants to join. All the information is on our forum, just RSVP. That's where I post the links and everything to join all the meetups. So it's all there on the forum. Like I said, if anyone's welcome. We like to chat about books, and it's always great to get people and have conversations. Also, this coming week, I will be interviewing author Ken Liu, the author of the Dandelion Dynasty. I've been going back and forth with Ken about, maybe scheduling an interview, and he preferred the pre-recorded video. So I will be interviewing him on Tuesday. So I'm not sure when it'll be posted, but I will record it on Tuesday. It may be not posted until the following Monday, but I will be sure and keep everyone posted on that, when that will be posted, when that will be live on YouTube. But it is happening this week. If there's any questions you'd like me to ask him, please add them down below, and I'll put them on my list. So this week on the Friday Conversation, we did have a bunch of different topics, but one of the topics was, outrage and fandoms, and, fandoms going at each other, or why is this fandom not like this fandom, and just like this manufactured conflict. I think even some social media platforms encourage or produce purposefully to get people engaged on their platform, because when you're upset, you're more likely to stick around and scrolling, or interacting with other people, whether it's arguing or discussing things, which who discusses things on most platforms anymore like this. But what I'm getting at is I think a lot of platforms create this conflict to keep you on their platforms, and it works pretty well. I think they have a pretty good grasp on how to keep most of us engaged, and doom scrolling. So I was curious, do any of you ever unplug? Do any of you ever just turn everything off and just get away for a while? It could be a day, it could be a week. Do you ever try to do that? If you do try to do that, how do you feel after you come back? And what have you changed about your own habits when you did come back? What did you realize about your habits that you wanted to change when you did come back? Also this week, The House of the Dragon, episode 1 was on Sunday night. Did anyone watch? And if you did, what did you think? I'm one of those people who wasn't all that excited for it. I mean, I was going to watch, but I wasn't all that excited. I think it was better than I expected it to be. And I'm still a little sour on the way that second half of season 7 and season 8 wrapped up. I'm still not, I'm still not crazy about it. I'm not over the moon about episode 1, but I thought it was pretty good. I thought some of it was kind of the same thing again. It kind of felt like we're watching like a replay. I kind of wanted something maybe something a little fresher, but I did enjoy going back to Westeros. I did enjoy seeing that world again, and it was better than I expected it to be. So I'm cautiously optimistic that it's going to be okay. I have thought about doing a week, maybe like a weekly discussion, or a discussion at the end of the season for the series. Let me know if you're interested in that. If you're interested in either coming aboard, or if you're interested in just watching. Let me know if that's something that you'd enjoy watching, just for us to sit and have a chat about it. I think that might be fun. We'd be a week behind, but one of those things. Because episode 1 was last week, we're already coming into this week, episode 2, but we can catch up. The new Lord of the Rings trailer dropped as well, and the more I see of this series, the less interested I am. It's just not grabbing me. I just don't care. It's not something I'm interested in. There's so many other things to do. There's so many other books to read. There's so many other movies to watch. There's so many other TV shows to watch. Like I'm a whole season behind on The Boys. There's other stuff to do. There's so much other stuff to do, whether it's, media to consume. Like that's the first thing I go to is what I can be reading. But there's so many other things to do that you have to pick and choose how to spend your time. And I just don't want to spend my time watching it. I just don't think it's worth my time. If you're into it, if you're really excited for it, then I'm happy for you. For me, it just doesn't grab me. It just doesn't, and it's not a, I'm not a huge Tolkien fan anyway. I'm not a huge fan of the movies. I don't have really an investment in the franchise. I mean, I liked the first movie. I didn't really care for the second or third movie. I know that's going to upset some people, but I thought the second movie was okay. I did not like the third movie. The first one was really, really good, but I just don't have that attachment to it that some people do. So I'm indifferent about the whole thing, and I don't see myself watching it really. Maybe when the season's over, if people are raving about it, I'll give in and check it out. But I don't know if it's for me. What do you think? Are you going to be watching it? Are you excited for it? Are you more excited or less excited the more trailers and information you find out about this series? Let me know down below what your thoughts are on that too. Also, we've been watching The Americans, and we watched this years and years ago. We're rewatching it, and I wondered, did this stuff really happen back in the 80s? Those of you who aren't familiar with The Americans, is about a couple of spies from Russia who live in 1980, early 80s, early to mid 1980s America, who are spies who are posing as American citizens. They start a family. They run a travel agency, and they also do all these like covert ops and these really crazy missions on the side to, like spy stuff. And they live across the street from an FBI agent, so that adds to the tension there. And it makes you wonder: did this stuff really happen? Does this stuff still happen? I think it'd be harder to maintain a life like that now, because information is so free and there's so many other things. There's so many ways you can find out about someone. So there's some things that happen in the show. I won't spoil it for those of you who haven't seen it yet, but there's some things that I wonder, did this stuff really happen? And The Americans is one of those shows too that it has nostalgia in it because it's based in the 80s and there's some 80s stuff in it, but it doesn't lean on it so much that it's like 1980s. Here you go. It's like it's just in the 80s. You get that nostalgia from the story. It's not as in your face as some other shows are, like Stranger Things. But it's still nostalgia. It's still fun. There's still little things here and there, but it's not like, it doesn't lean on it so heavily. So it's something that I really appreciate about the show. And the end of the series, I won't spoil it, but it is, I always forget to mention it, but it is one of my favorite endings to a franchise. So really, really great finish on that. They really landed the end. So I think we're almost to the last season now. So yeah, it's been fun rewatching, and really, really great performances too. Really, 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 really good stuff. So that's enough about me. How are you doing? What are you watching? What are you reading? What are you listening to? Let me know down below. I always love to hear from you. And of course, I get new suggestions on how I can be spending my time. So it's always great to hear from you. Let me know down below how your week is going. Do you have any plans for this coming week? Anything you're excited about? Please let me know down below. The weather is starting to cool off a little bit, which is really great because I live in the high desert. So it's cooling off. It's in the 90s now, and I'm ready for fall. Fall is my favorite season, and I'm ready for the cooler temperatures. What's your favorite? Are you ready for fall? Are you ready for autumn? Are you done with summer? Let me know down below that as well. I always love to hear from you. All the interaction is what keeps me coming back. Thank you so much for watching and for coming by. I made this comment on the BookTube kindness tag, but whenever any of you post, it's like friends coming over to chat with you, to come and hang out. So thank you so much for spending the time to hang out with me and to listen to me ramble about useless, meaningless stuff. I really appreciate it. Your time is very valuable, and thank you for spending some of your time with me. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.